guys, it's Danny. Lately many of you have asked me how to induce blooming in a Phalaenopsis orchid. Now this may sound easy because Phalaenopsis are really easy orchids to grow, but when it comes to blooming, sometimes it can get tricky because external factors play an important role in reblooming Phalaenopsis orchids. So today we're going to discuss about what induces blooming and some possible reasons why your orchid might not bloom. Okay, first things first, a proper care of this orchid all year round will set the perfect conditions for producing blooming spikes. Don't expect a sick orchid to divert any energy to producing flower spikes because it will first try to establish in the pot and establish a good root system so that it's sure it has enough energy to produce the flowers, and then it will focus on producing the blooming spikes. So good roots and good care will play a major role in reblooming a Phalaenopsis. Now if you have a healthy phal, you need to know that really reblooming is not up to you most of the times. External factors actually induce blooming, and these factors are, first of all, temperature. In winter and late autumn, this orchid needs a temperature drop in order to rebloom because it does have an internal clock that tells it when it's the proper time to bloom. So my preferred temperatures in autumn and winter are about 17 or 18 degrees at night and 22, maybe 23 degrees during the daytime. You need to have a sort of difference between day and night of about maybe 5 degrees Celsius in order to be sure you're gonna have a spike. Now another thing is light. In winter time, days are shorter and the light quantity is not as great as in summertime. This can also induce Phalaenopsis orchid into blooming. So this is really not up to you. When winter comes and days get shorter, this will be a factor that will induce a Phalaenopsis orchid into blooming. I don't think you can actually intervene in this matter, but sometimes Phalaenopsis orchids do not bloom because one of these criteria are not met, and most of the times it's the temperature issue because many people grow orchids in their home, and in many cases in your home you don't really have low temperatures. You don't really have this difference between night and day. You just have a constant temperature, and this might actually affect the blooming of an orchid. If it doesn't have this difference between night and day, it might actually stale the flower spikes and not bloom, but produce roots and leaves. So if you're dealing with something like this, there are quite a few tricks that you can do. First things first, you can place your orchid outside in the nighttime. Now if you have a garden, I wouldn't recommend you placing it in the garden, but maybe at a window, outside your window you can place it. Just make sure it will not tip over and you will not have any storms or anything that night. If your temperatures will go to 18 or 17 degrees at night, that would be just perfect. You can place your orchid outside your window in clear days, let's say, but just make sure you bring it back inside when the temperatures go below 15 degrees because 15 is really the limit of temperature I would actually give this orchid. You can also try to keep it next to your window inside the house, but just make sure that it receives low temperatures from outside. Now this can be tricky as you might not want to have 17 degrees in your room at night, I don't know, but it's an idea. If you can leave the window open to create this temperature around your orchid, this would be just fine. Now if you live in a temperate zone like I do, this is not a problem. You can use these external factors that you are provided naturally. But if you're living in a warm area, this might get a bit tricky. You might have very warm winters and the difference between night and day will not suffice. So there are some things I think you can do. Okay, so I'll pause this video and I'll show you what I mean. Now, a trick that I thought about of reducing the temperature around your orchid is of creating a sort of a humidity tray for your orchid, but instead of placing pebbles and water, you can just place ice. Of course, the more ice you place, the lower the temperature will go and the longer the effect. You have to keep in mind though that the actual orchid pot should be above the ice. You don't have to froze the roots of the orchid. You really don't want that, and also you don't want the medium to get really soaken up with water. So find something to raise the orchid above the ice. Now you can leave this orchid like this all night long, and this will provide some moisture as well, some humidity around the plant, and also the temperature will get lower. Now I'm not sure how long it will last. This will depend on your temperature. The higher, the hotter it is, the faster it will go, but it is just an idea to try out. And as you can see, the temperature is really going low right now. I used to have 22 degrees here, and in 3 or 4 minutes it dropped to 21, and most probably it will still drop. Anyway, this is just an idea you can try out. If you live in a very warm climate, you can try doing this. Of course, as I told you, the more ice you place around your orchid, the lower the temperature will go. I don't think there's any danger of you freezing your orchid because you're still outside. Not a good idea is to refrigerate your orchid. This will definitely not work. It will only kill the plant. But if you can provide at least 17 or 18 degrees at night, I don't think you have to hassle with this. I think it's a good temperature for a Phalaenopsis to induce into blooming. Now this orchid needs about a month or so of these temperatures, although mine tend to only need about 2 weeks in order for them to produce a flower spike. It just depends on your orchid. But anyway, the perfect tool to make a Phalaenopsis orchid rebloom is the temperature drop and the difference between night and day temperatures. Other than that, really good care, a lot of love and attention, and you will have beautiful flower spikes. I'm not going to get into the details of where to cut a flower spike in order to get a rebloom, because this is a different subject. I'm just talking about flower spike production right now. Now, some other factors that may induce your orchid into not blooming actually can be, as I said, improper care, or if the past year you kind of stressed out your orchid by making it rebloom again and again, you can have an orchid that skips a year. I did have an orchid like this. I kept her in bloom for about 1.5 years constantly, and then she did skip a year, and then the following year she bloomed and I cut the spike all the way back, and this year she is producing a flower spike again. So yeah, just be careful that you don't exhaust your orchid. 2 things can happen. 1, it can skip blooming altogether, or 2, it can produce a small flower spike with just 1 or 2 flowers, and you really don't want that. You can make a secondary spike come out, but don't try to promote reblooming over and over again, because it really stresses out the plant. And it's better to wait for a big flower spike in the following year with lush blooms. Okay guys, thank you for watching this video. Let's check the temperature. There we go, we're going down. So yeah, hope you found this helpful. Hope you managed to rebloom your Phalaenopsis orchids wherever you are. And if you have any questions, and if I forgot anything, please leave me a comment, and please subscribe to my channel, because you'll have some surprises in the future. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.